Hey, what's up, guys? It's Dan Weinberger here, CEO of Morpheus.Network again, with another AMA. This one is a doozy. I got to say, I read through the questions just quickly, and there are a lot of questions this time, which is fantastic. Because we have obviously a growing interest in the project and what we're doing and the pilots and all that stuff. So fantastic. And I wanted to thank the community, of course, as I always do, for the amazing questions, because there would be no AMA without the questions from the members themselves. So thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. So all right, let's get to it. So what kind of marketing campaign is Morpheus Network having to create awareness and to grow the community? We have a ton of marketing plans, when it comes to, various YouTube videos, YouTubers themselves, articles we put out, lots of videos, right? It's the content that we try to put out there that's, projects we're working on, projects we're proud of, and things that we can obviously announce at the right proper time based on completion of goals and NDAs that are in place and so on and so forth. So, my favorite posts, I've seen a bunch of stuff out there that obviously I love the stuff that we put out there and the team puts out there, but organic posts that the community puts together. So I've seen some awesome stuff out there, and something that I like to do, I guess, once in a while is I'll shut off all forms of communication, my cell phone, even the Morpheus Telegram channel. I'll shut that off, and whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I'll sit there with like a word processing, a blank word processor screen, and just write down things that I'm thinking about when it comes to what gets me excited about technology. Why am I a part of this space? And I know all you guys are I see these posts you guys put up. I see the conversations you guys have in Telegram as well. You guys have a ton of content in your own minds, businesses and processes all around you all the time. How they could be optimized, how technology should be used for these different businesses, and really, through that organic post, another company that reads that might say, I have a similar business structure to that. Maybe I should look into that technology as well. So it'd be awesome to see, any notes or thoughts that you guys have, and just be sharing with me as well. You can always email me directly. So thank you, guys. And all right, let's keep on going. It is crucial that the token is listed on various exchanges, not only because of liquidity, but also creates awareness. Are there any ongoing talks with exchanges to list Morpheus Network? I guess I could say that every legitimate exchange out there requires an NDA. You have to sign an NDA when you're dealing with them, right? So it really prohibits the projects like ourselves from talking with any specificity. So can you tell us, next question, can you tell us how the project is progressing? Are there any setbacks? What have you learned from them? Setbacks, that's always a great question. It's always like, at a job interview, ask for someone's flaws as opposed to what they're good at. But I guess I would say that I wouldn't necessarily call it a setback, but possibly in certain situations, I have personally underestimated the amount of time it takes for, let's say, a contract review process through various, levels of an enterprise and, legal systems with some of the large multinationals that we're working with. I guess that's why lawyers, stay in business and why they do very well. But yeah, it's, type of thing where, you work through these processes, and if it takes longer, that's just how long it takes. So another thing that I'm not saying it's a setback necessarily, but I will say this to all our different ambassadors out there talking to companies as well. You always have these great meetings. It's really essential at the end of the meeting to have an action point for yourself, for them, mostly for yourself as well. So you can talk about their pain points, you talk about their company, but if you just end it as great talk, see you later, you really don't know what to do next. So make sure you have these action points, set in motion as well. So, and be explicit about it. So thank you. Next question. Is Morpheus Network already creating revenue, and how do you plan to grow further? We are very excited to say, that we are generating revenue, real revenue through the platform with our clients, with their development. Really exciting milestone for us, of course, as a company. Through our various multipliers, you're asking how we're going to grow further, and that's always been the case, right? Through our network of connections, whether it's through SAP and IBM or Geotab, through the actual Morpheus Network service providers like Geoffroy or Customs Direct, which has led us to some amazing projects. ISVs as well, the independent software vendors like Blockchain Guru, our ambassadors around the world, of course, our in-house business development team as well. They are amazing. Carl McDermott's a magician, allows us to grow constantly and be able to contact and be in, so many different places at one time, it's a skill that not everyone possesses, and Carl is really a master at it. So, but really, it's all about individual projects, and one project in particular that I want to talk about. It's an end-to-end supply chain, being that right from the raw material all the way down to receiving it and processing it and packaging it and shipping it off to distributors, complete end-to-end. So what's amazing about that to me is that for a lot of companies, they have a single pain point that they want to tackle, and usually that's your entry is that major pain point. Now we're working on this end-to-end supply chain, which allows us to pick and choose later on for another company that golden goose. To choose a functionality that we've already perfected and created for an end-to-end supply chain for a specific part of supply chain that needs that help. So for another company, so really excited about that. And really, it's all about building up these amazing digital footprints with these companies and clients, and having this data sort of not only be stored properly and but actually be connected. We're having this dynamic data that's interconnected and working together, as opposed to static data and all these different silos where you just slowdowns in all business. So thank you for that as well. Next question: are masternodes still being considered? And when can we expect more info about it? So our development team has indicated that once we hit 1 million transactions per day, that masternodes will be necessary to secure the network. Right now, our focus, of course, as you probably know, is growing our customer base to generate more transactions for the business. So that focus that we have and that question are obviously directly related to another, but our focus is about growing the business. So Morpheus.Network, does Morpheus.Network still have enough funds to run? For how long are you planning to acquire additional funds? We feel very confident in the roadmap that we've set aside with our strategic partners. We do have a long enough runway, especially now that we're generating revenue with the platform itself, that we don't feel we're going to need another round of funding whatsoever. Now, we're not saying we're not open to opportunities when it comes to growing our network. Funding is not on our sort of on our radar right now, because we have our roadmap already planned out. So. We've actually, planned out our contracts with our partners, and, really well that it's, a lot of times it's percentage of revenue generated. So we're actually bringing funds in for compensating any partners. So we really try to run a tight ship, and it's going very well, and we're confident with our runway most definitely. So I think it would be a great idea to have YouTubers talk about the project, news outlets to write about it. If plans to do this, great idea. I completely agree. And yes, there are definite plans. All right. Can you tell us about partnerships Morpheus.Network has and the achievements that have been made and results for numbers if possible? Yeah, we have various partners. Depends on what you define as a partner. We have awesome integrations, with these different tech partners, whether it's with IPFS, integrating different blockchains, different payment systems, with Access Pay and so on and so forth. And then we have obviously our Morpheus.Network service providers, which customs brokers like Customs Direct or Joffroy. We have our partners that are those independent software vendors as well, like a Blockchain Guru, who do these implementations all the time and are basically selling the Morpheus product. And when it comes to actual users of the platform, both importers, exporters, as well as companies and logistics, we now have over 20 companies actually processing shipments, parts of shipments of some sort through the platform, adding some sort of visibility to their supply chains. So whether it's a customs broker, an importer, exporter, it's all about the provenance of these goods. What is actually the history of any product or any item? It's all the documents connected to, whether it's we actually create the shipping compliance documentation when it comes to customs and so on and so forth. There's actually the certifications. Then you have also different handling points as well. So that is actually the history of the product itself, of the item, which actually will last a lot longer than the product itself. And there's a huge interest in the world in knowing the provenance of these items. And what's actually led us to this new POC through our partner Customs Direct with the Department of Homeland Security specifically. So they have an issue with products coming in across the border, with Customs Border Protection, and there's huge slowdowns. What happens is that products arrive and you don't know the provenance of these products. There has to be POs, connected to intellectual property rights as well. And basically, what we do is have our system. Excuse me. which we've developed with other companies as well. When it comes to building up the provenance in these digital footprints, whether it's QR code scans for visibility, whether it's compliance documentation, and these are things that we can implement right away. So extremely excited about this POC, this proof of concept with Department of Homeland Security. I really can't think of a bigger project, than working on the intellectual property rights of things coming into the United States at that border itself. So really exciting times, and really that's I really have to thank Jim Maslowski and Customs Direct, who's one of our customs broker partners. They're in the U.S. They've put in a lot of hard work into gaining a reputation with DHS and with these various government bodies to be able to have pilots of their own in the past, and then have us a part of this POC and have us a part of future pilots that we're actually working on with them right now. So and for me, it's actually pretty perfect because prior to Morpheus as an importer-exporter, is dealing with the United States border so often that it's right in my expertise when it comes to things coming across the border, how the data has to be handled, where the items are coming from and where they're going. So really, it's this POC gets me extremely excited, and I love all the projects we have. I love all the pilots, but specifically that U.S. border with my experience really goes well. So, great question. Sorry if I got off track there. All right. How is the team doing? And is it needed to add additional talent to handle the workload? Yeah, we've actually been constantly hiring. We are growing when it comes to ambassadors and community and so on and so forth. We're actually growing as a company as well. We have a couple of new business development hires, more than one that we're definitely going to be announcing very, very shortly. Really helps to have those face-to-face meetings. So hires in geographical regions. We're constantly looking at different areas in the world, and it does help to have people in different places in order to have those face-to-faces. So, can you tell how Morpheus.Network is approaching new business partners? How do you find your target market? And how do they find you? Approaching companies blindly, cold calling, all that, it is never easy. You can look in the phone book and look up a ton of companies, and you'll call 1,000 companies and probably won't get a single one that will reach back to you. So, for us, it's really relying on our network of connections through, there's the ambassadors out there, obviously, but our independent software vendors, our various partners. That's what we're looking for, partners that have these networks, these multipliers that we talk about over and over. So, it really does help to have a customs broker that deals with 100 or 1,000 companies, as opposed to working on each individual company and trying to sign them up. So, yes, multipliers, face-to-face meetings is huge. Having the right team as well. Like I got to say, like our team itself is it's amazing. Doors that we're able to get through in order to get these proof of concepts in action or get these pilots moving ahead. Super proud of what we've done, and I really see that the projects that we're not even allowed to talk about, what stuff's to come as well. So very excited about everything. So hi Dan, hope all's continuing to go as well. Just wondering, how long does it take for proof of concept? Take for corporations to implementing, assessing the platform? Does this time frame change significantly at larger corporations or to smaller mid-tier corporations as well? General answer, appreciate it. Yes. Yeah, as a general answer, I have to say it's different for every single implementation, for every single company as well, whether it's a massive company or whether it's a small or medium enterprise as well. Like I was mentioning that end-to-end supply chain, there's so many different aspects to that and so many different handling points and different ways to set up the logistics itself, whether it's trucking, whether it's needed within the warehouse itself. So that implementation will take longer than a pilot, for example, like Chin Lee, who all he had to do was slap on QR code stickers. So it's more so with a company like Chin Lee, it's the negotiations that take a lot longer. So it really is based on the situation. What I'm excited about, as I mentioned before, is these implementations that let's say do take longer to get them into action, but once they're already active, the next company that needs that same functionality, it's already there for them to use as well. So. But yeah, with certain companies as well, get lucky enough to be in the room with the right decision maker, and they can push ahead a pilot or a project right away, which is obviously a lot easier than dealing through many different levels. But with the right company, we're willing to deal with any level that that they'll let us. So, but yes, thank you for that question. And I'm sorry for not a specific answer. It's more of a general. What's the current focus of Morpheus.Network? Building out pilots in different working fields. We're trying to integrate the platform within company software. So getting out of the pilot phase. Okay, both really. So yeah, we're within all these different project implementations that we're talking about. It kind of goes in the same, same thought with, that end-to-end supply chain, whether it's those, pilots originating from different countries, whether it's from China, going to Mexico, going to the States, going to Canada. It really depends on these different pilots and, the contracts that we have as well. So let's say you have a contract that, the actual manufacturing could take months, ocean shipping could take a month as well, and then they're assessing everything from there as well. So getting out of the pilot phase to, full-fledged, use is definitely, the target. That's obviously why we're doing it in the first place. But yeah, integrating, I'm very excited to talk about also an announcement that we will be making shortly, that as we're speaking right now, our API is actually being leveraged on the back end of other platforms as well, other systems. So in my mind, it's a lot easier use of our technology where it's just our API that we provide as opposed to the whole platform. So yeah, very excited about that. That's actually going on right now. We have a contract in place. So yes, very, very shortly we'll be able to fill you in on some of these sort of integrations as well. So hi, Dan and Owen team. I would like to know how many total projects. We're talking about over 20 companies are actually running and using the platform for various types of shipments and parts of shipments and various types of building up digital footprints, whether it's visibility, whether it's compliance documentation, whatever it is that they need for, their initial pain point. Yeah, so what's the best feedback? I'd say the feedback is hearing, I guess you could say a traditional CEO who, at first necessarily didn't understand, the benefits, what can be optimized, and they had an open mind. They say, let's see what this can do. And then after seeing some of the functionality and the automation and, the obvious increase in speed and thus productivity, you get this tremendous feedback saying that they didn't expect it. They didn't expect it. And now they get it. Now they see it. And it's not only that they see it and how it works for their business, but they now understand how this is going to be, how the entire world is going to go. And you either have to go in the direction of new technology and optimizing your business, or you're going to fall behind. And that's just how it is. So, I'd like to know what companies are currently under NDA. Why did they choose an NDA? You know what? Listen, why do companies choose an NDA? If a company that we want to work with wants to sign an NDA because they're providing us with sensitive data and sensitive information, then we will sign that NDA. We want to work with them. So, that is actually the nature of the software business, intellectual property rights, and so on and so forth. We have to respect those contracts. So, and when we're allowed to announce something, most definitely we will announce it. But we're not going to break any non-disclosures in order to put in an announcement. So that actually grew in the projects themselves. So anyhow, with plug and play nearly wrapping up, can you comment on the overall experience? Carl expects 1 or 2 corporations probably to validate the platform's fraud prevention protocol, the scope of the interest in these companies. Some large corporations which ship billions of products a year. Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. Thank you for that question. I've forever will have those amazing memories of our first experience in Silicon Valley at Plug and Play. It really was amazing. And there's obviously those projects with the corporates being discussed. In the phases that they're at right now, developing in the right stages. These corporates, they waiting cautiously when it comes to startups as well. So pilots and all that have to be completed. But when it comes to Plug and Play, if you're asking about our experience, not only the corporates, but these amazing startups that we got to meet as well, the mentors at Plug and Play. These are people who have experiences that you can gain knowledge from, without having to experience that yourself. So it's really a priceless experience itself, right? Just those mentors, and as well there's those different VCs, those network connections as well, and we're already planning on going back to California and meeting up with more companies shortly. So really amazing experience, and yeah, we're definitely going to be working with a lot of these companies for many years to come. So. I noticed a Morpheus team member is currently the digital innovation manager at Schaeffler, $4.6 billion market cap European automotive company. He is the head of European partnership. Anything you can share? Obviously, if it's something I could share, I would share it right away. I will say that Sebastian has been an extremely productive team member, and you guys can expect a lot more production out of Sebastian for a long time, but I do not have any further comments at this time. So. Can you talk about the connection Morpheus.Network has with Control 4? Obviously, we have a very close connection with Ariel Mizrahi. He is the head of business development in Mexico for Control 4. And with Ariel, we do have some projects that are currently on the go, and many more projects that we will be able to announce and obviously push towards more revenue for Morpheus as well. So, hi, Dan. First, we love the project, all the hard work you two putting in, patiently waiting for when we blow up. Okay. And one of the previous AMA, you mentioned you have 40 plus companies on the waiting list. Back in March, give up the date, figure out how many companies are piloting the platform. We're getting a lot of questions on the pilots and people using that. That's fantastic. You guys are asking the right questions. We're constantly taking in new contacts, new people that want to try various functionality of the platform. Leveraging our API in the back end, different POCs. And to be honest, our pipeline is pretty jammed right now where we have all our resources developed. So, if tomorrow, for example, I think one of the questions about Geoffroy later on, if Geoffroy approaches us and wants us to, work with 3M and PepsiCo right away, we'd have to timeline it. We wouldn't say no. We'd have to schedule it for the right time. So, our resources, our developer resources are put in a certain direction for a certain reason. We're very excited for the projects and the pilots and things we have going on right now. And yes, we will continue to grow and keep on growing out and keep on growing the team as we need to as well. So I'd like to know if there's an ETA for the module marketplace. That's from Henny's Dominion Blockchain Summit. Yes, I'd say the ETA for that, based on how the progression is going for the module marketplace, it's probably the third quarter of 2020. There's a couple of things that are finishing up around that time as well, and it just would go perfectly with that. So let's say third quarter of next year. So now next question here. This wasn't a question. This is AMA for me, for Dan. What tech stack is the platform built on? JavaScript or other languages? Is the SDK already under development? So this is a question that I pushed over to Noam, the development team. So our platform is primarily AngularJS, which is a JavaScript-based open source framework, rely on Node.js and the NPM ecosystem. We run on Cloudflare, Amazon AWS, and Google Cloud. We're building an SDK to allow third parties to develop their own modules and integrate them into the platform. We're using this today, but it is not ready for general release quite yet. Thank you for that question, of course. Hey, Dan, how will you use your new role as member of the ISCEA IGBS committee to promote business adoption of Morpheus.Network? Again, it's, the company is connected to the ISCEA, allows that organization itself to be a multiplier for us. So finding these different connections and networking through the ISCEA, other multipliers there, but also companies and amazing corporates that they have as well. So I'll be doing a lot more events with them as well. And, having these face-to-faces and being sort of like the expert in the room with these companies allows us to get into these, through the doors with the right people at the right time a little bit easier too. So as new members of the George Brown College Program Advisory Committee for AI, how will Noam and yourself leverage your time at the college to improve Morph's AI capabilities? Listen, we, through integration, we're able to use a variety of machine learning centers, through the platform, taking in data, even, for example, working with Geotab and having access to Geotab's data as well, and optimizing supply chains for our companies. But specifically with this George Brown program, for us to be in the space and lucky enough to have sort of like a front row of, as AI is developing, see what's going on and be able to influence as it's developing as well. I know Noam's been in the tech industry for as long as you can remember, and being a part of the committee means a lot to him. But for me, from a functional supply chain standpoint, there's nothing more interesting in the world than optimizing supply chains with billions, if not trillions, of data points. All the supply chains around the world is perfect for artificial intelligence to optimize. So being able to be a part of that committee, seeing how the world is needing to embrace AI based on its advantages and capabilities, and be able to use it within Morpheus as well. So a lot of sort of integrations that we sort of are being a part of for our middleware, part of that committee. So, and of course, being other companies who want to learn about AI and are contacting the university too, it's pretty useful too. So, all right, next question. Can companies utilize Morpheus Cloud for insurance purposes across the supply chain? Has been interest in modular integration of systems? Yes, technically, if you've seen our it's our continuous QR code scanner, you can scan, add photos, and then those photos, are hashed on the blockchain, the timing of those photos, the latitude and longitude of where those photos were taken as well. So most definitely, very useful for an insurance case. We haven't had an insurance need at this moment yet for any of our shipments, which actually we're pretty thankful of that. But yes, in the future, I'm sure these will be used for insurance, and looking for integrations with actual insurance, sort of providers for international shipments hasn't been our focus quite yet. But I can see that being a sort of a great way to build out the business in the future too. So, excuse me. Can you give us some teasers on upcoming integrations, collaborations, partnerships you're most excited about? I don't give you teasers necessarily, because I think we just would announce things that we can announce basically. But when we are able to announce things that we haven't announced, I guarantee that you'll be excited about it, as I am as well. Collaborations and different partnerships, and work with companies and importer-exporters and companies within logistics and supply chain, with government bodies as well, of course, with our DHS POC, which I'm supremely excited about. So, right. How exactly does the fraud prevention program work, and what makes it unique? There are a lot of companies deploying the same concept of MRPH with regards to fraud prevention. There are actually a lot of companies that do fraud prevention out there, and sort of like the regular way to do it is to create a unique identifier on the physical item itself. And if you have a unique identifier on it, that identifier is unique, then that item is a counterfeit. The problem is when people are duplicating these unique identifiers. So whether it's a barcode or a QR code or something that you're scanning, if they're making a copy of it and then making a copy of the product, then you have a unique identifier on a fraudulent product. There's different levels, of difficulty when it comes to being able to clone or copy these unique identifiers. So let's say you have a programmable NFC chip, which people are doing as well. Those could be cloned and put into a fraudulent item as well. So extra layers that we're adding in our fraud prevention system goes hand in hand with the handling points that we already are hashing with latitude and longitudes across the supply chain. So what we do is build a protocol, knowing where these handling points need to be based on where the product needs to be. So basically, you're eliminating the ability for shipments to be, sort of scanned, and handled if they're going to the wrong channel. So even if a product is 100% legitimate, it's being shipped to the wrong distribution center, whatever it is, it'll be scanned and pop up in the system as a gray market item based on the fact that it's being handled in the wrong latitude and longitude, being in the wrong country. If it needs to be sold in France, but it's being handled in Belgium, then that'll come up in the system as gray market. Or potentially black market as well, if it's, for example, made fraudulently and then scanned it in another country, and that latitude and longitude will pop up as the wrong area as well. So it's actually using the physical location of the goods themselves along with these unique identifiers. And on top of that, the whole functionality of the platform, because the use of this fraud prevention system, the use of all these different functionalities, we take it from a modular approach. So it's just a module that you drag in, and along with that module, hashed along the entire supply chain is all this other functionality. So not only are you bringing up the fraud prevention system, making sure that they're legitimate, the unique identifiers, and the latitude and longitudes of all those different handling points based on that, necessary shipments that need to happen in order for this to be a real product sold in the right channels. But on top of that, you also bring up the compliance documentation, the actual certifications from the company as well, which is stored on chain as well, and everything that can be stored all the way down that supply chain, even down to the sales invoices and so on and so forth. So super interesting how you can grow that out and kind of attach to the fraud prevention system a ton of other information and data as well. So great question. And I'll say that, from my perspective, no other system is incorporating all this other functionality as a part of a fraud prevention system. I'll say that right away, on top of the physical location that we're doing, the geolocation system. So, okay, can you elaborate exactly on what MRPH and Geotab are working on, and how will Geotab benefit from MRPH, and Geotab looking to roll out MRPH software? Yeah, we've already connected to Geotab's telematics devices. Gives our clients some crazy capability. I don't know if you guys are able to go, take 5 minutes, go into Geotab, marketplace and see all this, all this functionality that they have built already. So it's really amazing that, we have a client that comes to us, says they need a certain functionality for their trucks, for whether it's tracking, whether it's humidity, whether it's, an IoT device that they have built already. we have the integration already set up. So implementing something like that is super easy. We've already started discussions with Geotab as well about leveraging, our technology within their marketplace. Right now, our focus is building out for our clients and connecting to Geotab, but most definitely we'll be building some Morpheus functionality through an API for Geotab as well. So, have you thought or tried to get into bed fully clothed, of course, very funny, with Salesforce? Of course, all these major companies, especially companies that are related to business and supply chain, we see what they're doing, we see how their business structure works, and Salesforce is obviously one of the monsters in the industry, monster in a good way. So, but right now our focus obviously is building out with our partners, getting this functionality that we have, to work perfectly and smoothly, and also pushing through with these various POCs. So anyhow, that's not our focus, but we have thought about it. So L'Oreal has been mentioned through Plug and Play a few times. Do you have a formal pilot with them? Specifically explain L'Oreal wants to use MRPH, use a few products. Once again, is something that, we would be able to, if we had the ability to announce it, we would. So, timing is essential for a question like that. So, can you explain exactly what MRPH is working on with U.S. Customs Border Protection? Yes, I kind of talked about a little bit with that POC, the current POC that we have through our partners with Customs Direct, with Department of Homeland Security and Customs Border Protection, with intellectual property rights. So products come to the border to make sure that they're being manufactured by the proper manufacturing facilities, being shipped to the proper distribution facilities, and so on and so forth. Now we have other, POCs and pilots coming up down the road as well. When it comes to the U.S. and U.S. Customs Border Protection, a lot of them have to do with border crossings, of course. And I'm lucky enough to have a lot of experience with that as well. So a couple of the other pilots that we have down the road specifically, have to do with data related to shipments that I've personally performed thousands and thousands of times. So we'll have many more projects with the Department of Homeland Security. And once again, I did thank him before, but I will thank Jim Maslowski as well for being an amazing partner, in getting us this position with DHS people. So, okay, has MRPH been able to secure a game-changing contract? I would say that every single one of these pilots and projects and POCs that we have going right now are game-changing. So I guess it really depends on how you define game changing. For me, the end-to-end supply chain that we're working on that, definitely fill you in with tons of details. To me, that's game changing because it covers so much ground within supply chain, right? The POC that we're working on with Department of Homeland Security, how is that not game changing, right? That is, to me, that is absolutely massive. Signing, Geoffroy is one of the largest customs brokers in Mexico and been around for over 100 years, working with various government bodies around the world as well. All these things to me are game changing, and we're very excited about every single one of them. And we're excited about the future as well, and building out these, this pilots and implementations. So, are we working with any large pharmaceutical companies? We're in contact with some very large pharmaceutical companies, just based on the timing with our current projects right now. They're still in the proposal POC stage. But yes, we will definitely work with a lot of pharmaceutical companies down the line, especially with our ability to connect with IoT devices and so on and so forth, and the overlapping functionality with some of our food related projects as well. So the meat packing industry is huge. Wow, this leads right into that. So huge for temperature triggers, working with well-known meat packers. Yes, we have a specific beef exporter in our pipeline. IoT temp triggers, just like you described over there, automated documentation, storing everything, being shared with all the parties down the supply chain. Really an amazing, use case for our platform. And yes, coming down the pipeline, we have a meat packing industry, project as well. So, has Geoffroy introduced us to PepsiCo? Wow, this is that question I answered before. Not currently at the moment. It's not something that we're in a sense starving for business. So we have to be sort of introducing these companies at the right time. So and when it comes to the avocado export, which is the second part of that question, we are perfecting that flow. Food product coming out of Mexico into the United States, something we've handled in the past, but we really want this to be perfect with Geoffroy, especially with these other connections they can bring us to as well. So, great thing about Geoffroy is that we have such a close connection with that company itself. I personally talked with Eduardo Geoffroy, and on top of these current projects with avocados and with tomatoes as well that we're working on, many future connections through them. There can be a huge multiplier for us for a long time. Most definitely excited about Geoffroy as a partner. Great to see pilots being field observed week lately. I've noticed more in QR-based geo. Yeah. I'll put a little note on that a lot of projects are exploring the geo-tracking feature or dock storage. A lot of times that's interrelated, right? So in order, let's say for someone on a shop floor, in order to include, let's say, a POD that's right in front of them, they would actually have to scan the QR, and using that continuous QR code scan, they're uploading the document at the same time as well. So that's one seamless feature a lot of time as well. Curious if any of these companies are interested in the Morpheus.Network payment systems. You know what? It's in the past, I'd say, year or so, it's been less of the focus with these enterprises with the payment systems. Now, if a user does need, let's say, a regular bank connection through our partners with Access Pay, we have an amazing system already set up, and using that as it's still within the supply chain, obviously that's a home run. But when it comes to using a cryptocurrency-based payment system, we have tons of integrations. We haven't had as much interest from enterprises, but that's the regular progression in these projects is getting the sort of their pain points smoothed out and optimized, and they can optimize even further. And obviously, in the future, having these payment systems, implemented is definitely on our roadmap, and I'm excited about it. So, which languages does Morpheus.Network currently support? I see the website's in English. A lot comes in China. Right now, the platform actually is purely in English, and our Chinese partners, haven't had an issue with using it in English as well. A lot of documentation they send out is in English, being generated in English, being stored in English. So the platform itself is in English. We do have roadmap plans for Spanish, of course, because a lot of our Spanish platform users as well as obviously Chinese too. So definitely roadmap, and excited about that as well, especially with the international growth that we've been having. So and I believe that is the last question on the list. So if I missed anything, or anyone want any more detail on any one of these specific pilots or projects, I'm more than willing to elaborate even further. Hopefully I didn't miss any questions, but yeah, feel free to reach me directly. If you want to talk to me directly, my email is dan@morpheus.network. And once again, everybody, thank you so much for these awesome questions. Keep them coming. We'll keep the AMAs flowing. We'll do it again sometime. So thank you guys. Have a good day.